This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
Alrighty, yes, sir. Hour number 2, ready to rock and roll. We'll get back to more talk, getting you ready for the Dolphins and for the Titans and the Canes and Vatek and some other things. But we're going to switch over to another winning team that is headed for maybe another championship for us here in town, which, Michelle, if it happens, I don't know if you've done this article yet, how many cities in the country have championships in all 5 pro teams. So InterMiami could complete it for us.
Yes, it may be the only one. I don't know. I would have to go do that research to see. Have you done the research to see how
I have
many
not,
MLS
but I would
Cup
imagine.
champs?
How about New York? Have the Metro Stars or I don't think NYCFC
maybe.
has ever won it.
No, maybe way back. I'll have to go back and do that research. Next time I come on, we'll discuss that. I will do that research. That is definitely worth
But the New
checking
York
out.
thing is cheating because they have 2 of everything. So how do we do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
and LA has, well, they have 2. They have 2 of some.
yeah, 2 of some, right? Because they've had like teams yes and no. You know what I'm saying? Like the Rams never won for them. They won in St. Louis, not there.
Right.
You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So that's
Yep.
you're out of that. So I don't know, but that's an article for you because obviously it's your sport that is going to complete the quintuple championship. What would it be called? I don't know. How do you call it?
Quintuple, the quintuplet, the quintuple, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
The
There's enough.
trifecta, the quadrifecta, the quint, I don't know.
You're gonna have to come up with some kind of catchphrase.
Come up with a word.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got a lot of work on you there. Wow, we did an interview to give you more work. That's just not fair. That's just not right. But what is right is what we're watching. I love it. Even on an off night, they're still picking up a point and they're still keeping the pace and they're still, there. And this season has been awesome because they took off like banshees, and then the boys had to go away, and then they took off again and played well without them, and they've handled things down the stretch, and they're now getting healthier for the playoffs. This is pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, I have to say there's been a little bit of an adjustment period with the return of Messi. It's not just a magic potion that the greatest player, of all time just shows up and all of a sudden the team plays better. The team was without him for 2.5 months. He didn't play from June 1st all the way until mid-September. And during that period, the team did very well without him. And I'm not saying you don't want, of course you want Messi on the field. Messi's Messi, but when he comes in, there is a bit of a liability defensively. The team has to play a little bit differently when he and Suarez are playing together. That's 2 guys who are not really going to be racing back to defend. So, no one would expect them to, but what it means is when they are playing together, typically they will create a lot of chances. And so even if the other team does score, they've scored more. In the past couple games, and that happened in Philadelphia when he came back his first game against Philadelphia, it looked like everything was hunky-dory, everything was great. He scored 2 goals, he had an assist, whatever. But the last 2 games, they were on the road, but in both cases, they did not create as much as a team offensively. The New York City game, they really barely created any chances. They had only 2 shots on goal. Yes, it's a smaller field, it's a skinny field, blah, 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 excuses. But the bottom line is they only had 2 shots on goal, and they gave up a stupid goal on the final play of the game. If they don't give that up, they end up winning 1-0. And yes, there was a foul on that play that was not called. Yannick Bright was shoved to the ground. They didn't call it. Tata was really upset. If they had called that, the game would be over and they would win 1-0. But they shouldn't really have even been in that position. The New York City FC had gone 8 games without a win. They were on an 8-game winless streak. And this team should have been strong enough to not have to be complaining about a call on the final play of the game. They should have had that game in hand. They should have had that game in hand. So, yeah, they are playing really well. They're on top overall for the whole season. They have been on top of the standings pretty much every week except one, the entire season. They have a very comfortable lead to have the best record in the league, which is the Supporter Shield. That's what they call it here in MLS. Supporter Shield is for the team that has the best regular season record. And if you get that, then you get home field advantage for the entire playoffs, including the final. So if they win Supporter
And
Shield,
a bye.
now,
And a bye.
huh?
And a bye into the round of 16, right?
Yeah, they get a bye. No, they don't get a bye. No, they still play in the first round.
Okay.
The play-in round, but they play a best of three. The first round is best of three series. I think they still play in that best of three. They get home field advantage, meaning they would play at home first. Then there's a road game. If there's a necessary third game, they would be at home. Then
My bad. They
the
have to
finals.
win. They have to win the MLS Cup this year for then the following year, right? Is that something like? Is that how it goes?
No, I think every team has to play in the first round. Yeah, every team plays in the first round.
Okay.
It's a best of three series in the first round, and then the winner of that, goes on to a quarterfinal, semi, and the final. They would host the final. If they were to go all the way to the final, they would host the final. They would host the semifinal. They would host every game except the second game of the first round.
Okay. Cool.
So right now, if you want to know math,
Oh, it's
right now,
it's the CONCACAF stuff that they end up getting
the
that,
the Champions League and all that. Yeah,
that's what it is.
CONCACAF Champions League. They
That's
get into the round of 16. Yes.
nice.
So in this case, they right now have 64 points and they have 4 games to go. 64 points, 4 games to go. The magic number is 8. If they get 8 points, nobody can beat them at all. Now, the other thing is if they win this next 2 games, if they win this Saturday at home against Charlotte,
They should.
and if they beat Columbus Crew on the road
That'll be tough.
next Wednesday, if they do that, that's it. They have clinched Supporter Shield because Columbus Crew is the only one that can come close to them. They could potentially get 71 points if they were to win all their games, but they will not get 71 points if Miami beats them. They would get 68, which would not be enough. So Miami is in great position right now to win the Supporter Shield. If they win these next 2 games, they win Supporter Shield no matter what else happens in the final 2 games. Otherwise, they need 8 points, magic number. They're in very good position right now to finish ahead of the Crew, ahead of Cincinnati, and ahead of the LA Galaxy. Those are the other teams that are really the powered teams this season are those 4: Miami, LA Galaxy, Cincinnati, Crew, and LAFC, is kind of there, but falling a little bit.
Yeah, it's there. I mean, listen, it's all there for them, and the one thing that
And they have to win it. I mean, let's just say
yes,
if they don't win, it will be considered a failure. And it should be, to be honest, because with this roster, they've got 4 guys who are playing on Barcelona, for God's sakes, on this team. They have the most expensive roster in the entire league. They are in first place and have been in first place the entire season. They have won with Messi. They have won without Messi. This team should win the MLS Cup this year. They should.
They
And
win,
if they
win
don't,
without Messi and a backup goalie. Okay, they win without Messi and Calendar. They did, didn't they? They won a game without Messi and Calendar. They won with a backup goaltender and
with CJ Dos Santos.
Yeah. So it shows you how deep they are
It's a
because
very deep team.
oh my
Yes.
God, it's an incredibly deep team. They have overcome
Leo
injuries.
Campana is sitting on the bench. Leo Campana is the leading scorer of this team's ever had. He has 30 goals. He passed Gonzalo Higuain last week. Now, granted, it took him 91 games to get there, but he has 30 goals. No one has ever scored more for Inter Miami, and he is on the bench behind Luis Suarez. He's not starting. He would start on almost every other team. He'd probably start on just about every other team in MLS. He's on the bench here because the team really is that deep. It's a very deep team.
Yeah, and they've gotten better on defense. with Bright there and our boy with the 3 knee surgeries that has helped out a lot.
No, Ian Frey,
Ray, oh man,
Wygant,
yeah,
Cello Wygant.
yeah. It just
Yeah.
but they're also young. They've got young players all over the place too that they're developing. So I really like, and I know the Moss brothers. They're crazy asses. Once Messi's gone and Suarez is got, they'll go get another star somewhere because
Yeah,
that's who they
they'll
are.
pay. They'll go find somebody. They will. They dream big. They think big and they dream big. They're not gonna
Yeah,
fold up shop, especially with the new stadium coming. In 2026, they're gonna have a new stadium. They're not just gonna christen that with Joe Schmo. They're gonna bring some names. If Messi's not still playing at that point, they'll bring in other names. It won't, no one will ever be Lionel Messi,
from the
but they
first
will
year.
they will invest in big names. They'll invest in big names.
From the first year, Moss told me, I want to make us international, not national. So
Right.
he's not about one trophy. He's about lots of trophies. He wants to probably make this the best team in town, period.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh, he definitely wants to show up the Marlins. There's no question. He wanted to buy the Marlins. He wanted to buy the Marlins. He's a baseball guy at heart. Okay. He wanted to buy the Marlins. Derek Jeter's group beat him out. He was not happy about that. So, guess what? Now he's going to have a stadium directly across the 836. You can wave from his stadium to the Marlins Park, and they both play in the summer. You know that Jorge Mas, when those two stadiums are running at the same time, he's going to want the InterMiami Stadium to be the one that's full and exciting and that has a championship team.
and
So
that's
he is
exactly
hyper
what's going to
competitive.
happen.
He's hyper competitive. Yeah.
And the Marlins are not competitive whatsoever. So that's never going to. He's already. For him, it's about competing with the Heat now and the Panthers. The Marlins are nothing for him. He wants to be what the Heat are considered in this town. And eventually that's what's going to happen, dude, because you added the Leagues Cup last year. If you can add the MLS Cup this year and all that. And at the same time, what they're going to do is they need to do the same thing that Arison and Riley did. They made the kind of commitment, the crazy commitment that forced us to become a basketball town. And then Larinaga comes along. I gotta give before Larinaga, what's it called? The gentleman in FSU. Now I'm brain farting. Damn
Leonard
it.
Hamilton.
Hamilton Larinaga kind of helped make this also college basketball. So overall, we're a nice basketball town. Now we've got incredible dedication from the Panther ownership. And now we're all getting educated and learning about the Panthers, and the town will become more hockey, accepting. That's what the Moss family has to do now. Make the same kind of crazy commitment that these two owners did, because these aren't the natural sports to us. It's football. And if you make that kind of crazy,
They are though, but no, soccer is the natural sport. There are a lot of people in Miami
I get it.
who watch football, FUTBOL, more than the two O's.
Yeah, but
the one that you actually play with your feet.
Hold on. Let's slow down. We still got a major.
Okay.
We still got a major problem. They're Messi fans. They're not Inter fans. That's why the last game you can go see Messi for $25 in the secondary market, because people weren't following it to the point that they didn't even know Messi was back. So they're front runners. We're still not an Inter Miami based town yet. And that's
it's a soccer town that's following the international game, but not the domestic game.
Exactly. So that's the job that the Moss family has now, is to make us embrace Inter and the MLS to the point that, like they do in LA, that they embrace their team like they do in Seattle. We're not there yet.
Right. No, we're not there yet, but I will say that those
a whole bunch
jerseys,
of front-running Messi fans is what we have.
I will say there are a lot of pink jerseys in town, and people know what it is. I think there is brand recognition that when people see the pink shirt with those little birds on it, people in Miami know what that is. They know that there's a soccer team and that Messi plays on the soccer team. That's what they know.
That's the key right there. Messi. We need to make it Inter. And then, this guy's playing, that guy's playing for this team. And then that's what it is. It's the Inter brand that then has it. And that's where we haven't crossed over yet, because the other day, you're not supposed to have empty seats for Messi playing. It just does, and that shows how fair weathered we are as a town so far. But that's fine. We're in the infancy stages. This is the same
Well, it's
thing.
not bad. They're averaging 20,000 plus per game. That's still a really good turnout for a team in South Florida for anything.
No,
To
I get.
average over 20,000 per game that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
No, it's phenomenal. I'm just talking about the culture itself. It's still not. We're
Right.
not there yet. It's that's the stuff. But we need that in order to create that culture. We need that so we could get them in love with the sport, in love with the game, not just Messi. So when Messi does retire, we can get him to come back to other games and things. Like, look, you lived it, and so did I. We didn't go to the Fusion and their Western Conference final for one player. We went for the magic that was the Fusion and Hudson and everything going on because we fell in love with their style of game and all the characters that they had on that team. It wasn't about one character. And that's where we have to get to the point of within. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to rain on the parade. I'm just saying that there's still a lot of work for the Moss family to do to really entrench soccer into our community. That's all I'm saying.
No, I agree. Yeah, to where people are talking about on the mainstream sports talk radio, for example. You never hear it. I mean, other than my podcast and yours, I have a podcast, by the way, Inside InterMiami every week. If you want to know what's going on, not just with Messi, but with Yannick Bright. If you want to know what's going on with Drake Callender, you want to know who these guys are, you can follow me, MiamiHerald.com, and watch my podcast. But if you listen to sports talk radio in this town,
listen. No offense. Nobody on QAM knows dick about Inter Miami soccer. Let's just be brutally. I love Joe Rose to death. He doesn't know shit about Inter Miami soccer. I like Hawk and Crowder. They don't know shit about soccer. They don't follow it. I mean, and the guys in the midday too, they don't follow it. They don't really know. They're half-assed. That's on. It's on their station. I get it. It's all right. I've been dealing with that forever. That's fine. It's all good. But that's why we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Right. At some point, we'll evolve to the point where, all the local media is paying attention and, the people reporters from the local media will show up to the practices and to the games. That's not, it's like, hello.
Yeah, you can't have an intelligent soccer conversation with them because they don't know anything except for, oh, did you watch Messi? Oh, yeah, he scored twice. They don't know. And they're not going to talk about Drake Callender, how really important. Like, he's like the second most important player on the team. Sometimes he's the number one player on the team, and people don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying?
No, and talk about things like the fact that, like, a little mini storyline that's really interesting is that Tata has moved Sergio Busquets, one of the great players of this generation, moved him back to the back line. Why? Because he wanted Yannick Bright to have somewhere to play on the field, and they play the same position. And he said that the reason that he moved Boosie back was because he wanted Yannick Bright on the field, and they both play in the same position. So this way he can have them both on the field together. That's pretty interesting. A guy who's a college rookie, and he's moving around Sergio Busquets so that this college rookie gets time on the field. That is how highly he thinks of Yannick Bright.
He just moved Alba. So he moved him from the left back spot, actually more up front. So, these are little, but again, that,
we can talk about it, but
and the average person watching us and listening doesn't know that either because everyone else is not going to take the time to watch or educate people or walk them through it and explain who Ian Frey is and what he's been through and how important, how ridiculous it is that Campana is coming off the bench on this team.
Right.
I mean, it's just
the leading scorer. Yeah, just think if you're in another sport in Miami, the leading scorer of this team from the last 3 seasons is coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Because the guy in front of him is a legend and deserves it. I mean, he's a legend. The guy, Luis Suarez, he's in contention for the Golden Boot. He's 37 years old. He's in contention for the leading scorer of MLS at 37 years old in his one and only season in this league. It's pretty remarkable what he's done. 17 goals in 20 games. And then Messi, 14 goals, 14 assists. They're both fantastic still at age 37. It's amazing to watch.
If we had a real culture, you would have fallen in love with the team when Messi was away, and they go 8-1 without him, and you're like, "Holy shit, this team is freaking awesome." For them to lose Messi, Suarez, and Rojas for such a
Yep.
stretch, and like Rojas is a young kid that nobody talks
He's
about. Only
coming back now. He's
Yeah, I
coming back
know.
off injury, by the way. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's coming back
that's
off
what I was
injury
saying
for
that
this
yeah, this
again.
team is so good, they're getting even healthier for the playoffs. These are things that the average person just doesn't know how special
No,
this
like
season has been.
Promaski is a 19-year-old kid from Key Biscayne, local, true local, and David Ruiz too from Little Havana. Two really young guys who came through the youth academy. And Kramaski, 19 years old, he was just on the U.S. Olympic team in Paris. He's coming off the bench on this team. He was a U.S. Olympian at age 19, youngest player on the U.S. Olympic team in Paris. He's coming off the bench for this Miami team. David Ruiz is the captain of the Honduran national team. He's 20 years old from Little Havana. His mom owns a restaurant in Little Havana, Honduran restaurant. That kid is a star in Honduras. Everybody knows who he is. He's on the senior national team at 20 years old. He's coming off the bench here for this team.
It's really one of the great stories in South Florida, and it deserves much more, attention and much more fan base and all that. And we got a lot of work ahead, but I just wish people would appreciate the great season that Inter Miami's having, because they are having one of the great seasons of all time in MLS history. Actually, they're
Yeah,
working on
they
that.
could actually. They're on pace. They are on pace to break the record. The record right now for all time for points in a season is 73 points, which was the New England Revolution of 2021. They got 73 points. That's the most. No team has ever gotten more in the whole history of the league. And they have 64 now. They could max out at 76. They could easily get 75, 74, 73, 72, 74. So they're going to be right in there. If they continue playing the way they are on pace to break the all-time record for points.
Yeah, it's just
People will jump on. You know what? People are going to jump on when the playoffs start.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins are sliding right now. When the playoffs start, people are going to jump on like they did with the Panthers. Just like people around here did with the Panthers, they're going to do with this team at the end.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
hope so, man. And I know this is a great season to come for more great seasons, and I think that'll eventually really build it up, and we'll get real Inter fans. And I can't wait for that moment. All right, what do you got going on in the Herald so folks can check you out?
Oh, mainly I'm just covering this team right now. I mean, they're coming up on this playoff run. I also today I'll be posting a story about men's and women's basketball. Both teams complete rebuilds. The men's team, believe it or not, there's only one player left, one from the 2023 Final Four team. We're talking about a year and a half since the Final Four team. There's only one guy left, Nigel Pack from that team. So they have 10 new players this year and only one left from the Final Four. And then the women's team, for the first time in 20 years, Katie Meyer's not the coach. There's a new coach for the first time in 20 years, and the team only has 3 players back from last year. The big story on the women's side, one of the big stories really, is that the Cavender twins are back after a 1-year hiatus, and they are fired up. And Trisha Cullop, the new coach, said today that they are the 2 hardest working players she's ever coached in her entire career, and that everyone knows them for their TikTok following and their Instagram following and all that. But she said that now that she has been with them in the gym, nobody works harder than the 2 of them. So it should be fun to watch them. Both teams are completely new this year. So even the most diehard fans of basketball, basketball, have no idea what to expect from these 2 teams.
And by the way,
It should be fun.
just a side note, congratulations to the women's volleyball team. They are top 25 ranked, and they're playing very well. So having a hell of a season too. So that's a pretty cool story too. The women's volleyball team for doing well.
Yep. Yeah. And Coach Elsa was saying today that the football team doing so well that it's energizing the whole department. Like when your football team is ranked in the top 10 and people are flying those U's out of their windows from their car, that energizes all the athletes from all the other sports. Like, everyone's proud to do the U now. And
Right.
so now the basketball players, the volleyball players, the soccer, everybody at UM wants to live up and be part of the whole, championship run like the football team is doing.
Well, they're certainly doing it in women's volleyball. They're kicking some ass. Follow her on Twitter. She's kicking ass at Kauf Sports. She is Michelle Kaufman. Michelle, as always, thank you for the insight. We will catch up down the line. Appreciate it.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk during the playoffs.
You got it, definitely, no doubt. There you go, the great Michelle Kaufman and our Inter Miami squad.